Hi, it's Christina with the Sisyphean Journal, and I'm going to link below to the full story that I did about the horrifying death of 23-year-old Magdalena Rodriguez at the hands of this guy, Suresh Gandotra. He's on the lam, as far as I know. I checked, the Interpol still has him on their wanted list internationally. We know he's in India, but nobody's bothering to arrest him. But one of the points I want to bring up, you can go watch the video below and just find out how horrifying his treatment of Magdalena was and how she wound up dying. And one of the things Gandotra told the medical board after this young woman's death was that he had dragged ass about admitting her to the hospital, well, sending her to the hospital, because he couldn't admit her. He had no admitting privileges. And the abortion lobby is like, oh, that's just an unnecessary thing. It doesn't mean they're a bad doctor. And it's really not important whether he has privileges or not, because, he can just send somebody. Well, let's look at some other people who lack those hospital privileges, shall we? So, first of all, we've got Naresh Patel. This guy is a piece of work facing rape allegations, horrible lawsuits, patients coming forward reporting that he'd raped them, lawsuits, burning fetuses in a field, reprimanded for disemboweling a 15-year-old abortion patient, dumping confidential patient information in a dumpster. But, this guy was forbidden to practice abortion because he lacked privileges. They'd be, well, I'm sure he's a really good doctor, and it's a tragedy to women that they're removing this option. Okay? And then the second of the two deaths that day, young Marianne, Dr. Paul Fleming, Clarence J. Washington, the doctor who performed her fatal abortion, he also lacked any local admitting privileges. Okay. Mylon Vooch. Oh, sorry, don't have a picture of him for some reason. He's a darling of the pro-choice movement because during the criminal abortion era, he was deliberately and openly doing abortions so that he could get caught and arrested, and then he could challenge the abortion laws. And he was partially successful. He didn't get the law overturned, but it shifted the burden of proof. Instead of the abortionist having to prove that the abortion was necessary to try to save the woman's life, the state had to prove that it wasn't necessary. No maternal deaths to his discredit when he was operating illegally, but after legalization, just appalling malpractice killed 2 patients. And then Scott Barrett, who was responsible for deliberately overdosing Stacy Ruckman on lidocaine. He had no admitting privileges. He was also just too cheap to hire anybody who knew anything about anesthesia, which he would have had to have an anesthetist on staff if he was doing general anesthesia. So when he numbed the cervix, he just deliberately inject an overdose of lidocaine so the patients would pass out. Sometimes they'd have to resuscitate them, but until Stacy came along, they were always successful. They weren't able to resuscitate Stacy. And then we have Ronald Taubert, who could not get admitting privileges, so he opened an inpatient birthing center and gave himself privileges. And he did a high-risk abortion in his birthing center and killed Gloria Small. And then we have Leroy Carhart. Leroy Carhart has 2 abortion deaths to his discredit. He did get in trouble in Maryland because he's doing risky late-term abortions without any hospital admitting privileges. When his patient died in Kansas, when they called the EMS workers in, the medics thought that Carhart was a bystander, not a doctor, because of how ineptly he was performing CPR. And his patient had died in Maryland. The instructions were, no matter what, don't call a hospital, call this emergency number. And it rang to Carhart's wife's equestrian supply business. So that's the quality of, and he's a serious abortion rights hero. He was one of, I think, 4 late-term abortionists that was lauded in a documentary about just what brave and wonderful people they are. And then we have, um, this is one of the first two abortion deaths I learned about, Gloria Aponte. Um, he had a receptionist with no medical training administering general anesthesia. He had Gloria Aponte die at his clinic. And, you know, lacking privileges really doesn't bother the National Abortion Federation. Martin Haskell, who developed what he called D&X and what the pro-lifers dubbed partial birth abortion, and the pro-choicers keep changing its name because they kind of want to pretend it never happened. He didn't have a license. His clinic was unlicensed and he had no hospital privileges. So much for cream of the crop National Abortion Federation. So these guys with no privileges, the idea that, oh, it's just, totally ridiculous to expect them to have admitting privileges. That doesn't make any difference. Doesn't mean they're a bad doctor. Yeah, well, tell that to Magdalena's family.